Haman HaRasha tells Achashverosh, Yeshno Am Echad Mefuzar Mefurad Bein Ha'amim. There's a nation that's scattered around your country, your countries. And Chazal tell us, now's the time to attack because they're Mefurad and Mefuzar. There's discord, and they're not connected. But what Haman didn't understand is that deep down, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh. We are connected, we are one, and wherever we find ourselves in the world, we know we're family. Tonight's about celebrating that, as I'm sure some of us will talk about that. But as I introduce Rabbi Gibber, it's very special for us, for all Achenu, B'nai Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael. I'm on a number of WhatsApp groups, and all the Rabbanim from Chutz La'aretz are trying to come, are figuring out a way to come, because that's what they want to feel part of it, they want to be part of it, they want to show the love, and we cherish the effort and the exhaustion. We know both of you came in this morning, and you've had a whirlwind day. I wouldn't be able to keep my eyes open, but we thank you very much for the Mesiras Nefesh of sharing words of Torah with us, and Hashem should give us all chizuk.
Bershus Rabbi Dovid Gottlieb, Shlita, in the presence of my revered and beloved colleague, Rabbi Efrem Goldberg, and my revered and beloved colleague, Rabbi Josh Brody. Kol Hakal HaKadosh Hazeh, I can't begin to tell you what it feels for me, for us, to be here tonight with all of you. Sure, we traveled a great distance to be here, and yes, we didn't sleep much. We went the breadth and the width of Eretz Yisrael, Artzeinu HaKadosha, today. I stand here before you humbled, inspired, very motivated, because today I stand here representing my community, the Boca Jewish Center community, the hundreds of men and women, the hundreds of children who I represent in being here. I'm giving voice and expressing our worry, our angst, our connection, our dedication, our solidarity. Oh, on the face of the soldiers, among the hundreds of letters that we gave out today, the hundreds of letters to the soldiers, specifically written to soldiers with pictures of all of the children, so that the soldiers should see the face of children, davening for them, writing for them, worrying for them, wondering about them. And I stand here in solidarity with the Boca Raton synagogue community, the Boca Raton Jewish community, where we stand with you. Archenu B'nai Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael. There is no place that I would rather be. There is no place that we would rather be. We stand with you. We cry with you. We're hopeful with you. And together, we'll gain some perspective this evening of Chizuk here in Beit Shemesh. I want to tell you that even though this has been dubbed a Chizuk mission for us to come, as though that would be possible, I'll tell you we're not here but a day. And already the Chizuk that we have been in receipt of, it's enormous. To see the resiliency, to hear the stories of hope and determination without compromise, to speak to those soldiers wounded in battle, defending their brothers and sisters, the first responder to walk in the face of imminent danger, wondering if whether or not, while he was struck by a bullet, wondering if he himself would perish in that very spot, reciting Shema Yisrael, waiting for hours, wondering what would be with the terrorists, to understand and the power, the passion of to see the determination, the grit from the border in the north to the border at the Gaza Strip and all around Eretz Yisrael, and as we are all called as reservists here in the Batei Knesios and the Batei Midrashos, the resiliency of the soldier that we met just a few hours ago. On Simchas Torah morning was meant to name his daughter, his 9th child. And we got the call He ran right to base, took his neshek, and he went into action. And it was only that Motzei Shabbos that he called his wife to tell her the name of the child, because he went to name his daughter at base with his comrades. The resiliency, the unbelievable resiliency of the Jewish people, the heroes of the IDF, it's extraordinary. And the achdus, the togetherness, something that I don't believe anybody here has seen the likes of. We brought, as I'm sure now most, if not all of you know, 102 duffel bags. On Sunday in our shul and at Boca Raton Synagogue, there were hundreds of people that were packing all types of supplies, lists of supplies that were needed all around Israel. There was no compromise of how much needed to be raised. Tens of thousands of dollars, mizuman, pressed into our hands to give out to locations, to people who need it. Because we are one. Lech knois es kol ha-Yehudim, as Yerov said. The response to the thought that we are fractured and splintered, it's not the case. But rather, we're people that is strong and resilient. The achdus, the togetherness. It's unbelievable to witness. It's unbelievable to see. To such an extent is the achdus that this past Sunday morning, when I was supervising all of the various supplies they put in certain bags and duffels to be labeled and inventoried, I was standing in the back of the shul, and I happened to have seen that there were two ladies that were packaging, and they were putting into a duffel supplies. But what I hadn't realized until I took a double take is that these two very ladies had not been talking to each other for nearly 10 years. They had not been talking to each other for nearly 10 years in a serious and significant machlokes. So much lashon hara, so much pirut, so much machlokes. And somehow they found themselves packing the same bag. And they didn't even realize that they were packing the same bag. They were so intent and so focused. They were so focused on what they were doing. They were thinking about you. And they were thinking about our brothers and sisters here in Eretz Yisrael. And they were worrying. And they were so determined and so focused that they didn't even realize that their nemesis, their adversary, the person that they despised and spoke ill of and would never ever send their children to have play dates with the others' children. Here they were packing a duffel bag together. And then they realized that they were packing the duffel bag together. And they just simply couldn't help but fall into each other's arms. And they started to cry. And they simply embraced. And anybody who was there, including myself, we started to cry because the story was known. And the machlokes was over a duffel bag, packing supplies for Achenu B'nai Yisrael. It wasn't until this moment that the chesed and the achdus, that it was felt so profoundly how much it meant, how much it's the call of the day, how much it's going to carry the day, and what it means for us to be here tonight. I would say that perhaps this, as the Baal HaTurim explains, is the clarion call of who we are, what it is that we stand for, who it is that we are meant to be, what it is that we represent. The Pasuk tells us in the beginning of Sefer Shemos and Parshas Shemos of the greatest spiritual interception in the history of our people. When the Torah tells us that baby Moshe Rabbeinu is floating adrift, and he is floating adrift to his own demise. And the Pasuk tells us, Vatiftach vatireu es hayeled. And Baspar, of course, as we're all familiar with the story, she sees this basket of this baby, and she doesn't yet know what's happening, and she extends her arm, as Rashi tells us, quoting the Medrash, this extension of arm, and she intercepts this basket of this child. Vatiftach vatireu. And she sees it's this yeled. V'hinei na'ar bocha, and the child is crying. And she's able to ascertain, v'tachmal olav. And she has mercy on this child, v'taymer, and she's able to say, miyaldei ha'ivrim zeh, this is a Jewish child. But of course, if you stop for a moment and you teach, you explain, you define these words in this pasuk, you'll know that there are two words that seemingly describe the same person. It seems as though baby Moshe is who she found. And it's baby Moshe who she found crying. Vatiftach vatireu es hayeled v'hinei na'ar boche. The problem is that the word yeled and na'ar connote two different stages in the development of a child. Yeled is a katanchik, is a little boy, and a nar is a lad, slightly older. And the Baal HaTurim explains that it's not talking about the same person, it's talking about two different people. In this very famous, well-known pasuk, it's talking about two different people. The Yeled is Moshe Rabbeinu, and the Nar was his older brother, was Aaron. And now, according to the Baal HaTurim, we have to understand, now reread the pasuk. The pasuk tells us, Vatiftach Vatireu. She opened it up and she saw it's Hayeled, she saw Moshe. But Moshe Rabbeinu, he was not crying. Maybe he was soothed by the rhythmic motion of the water. He wasn't crying, V'hine nar boche. But off to the side there was a nar. There was an older brother. It was Aaron who was standing off to the side, and he was crying. And in that very powerful moment when there was a child and then there was a nar who was crying over the child, it was in this moment, it was in this very precious moment, V'tachmal olav. Basparo, she has mercy on this child, V'taymer, and she's able to say, aha, this must be a Jewish child. V'taymer, she says, Miyaldei ha'ivrim zeh. What makes Moshe Rabbeinu recognizable as a Jew, as an Ivri, is that there's another Jew that's crying for him, the welfare. What's going to be? Will he survive? What's his future going to be? We cry for each other. We worry about each other. We stand for each other. We stand with each other. That is what defines us as Jews. And to tell you the truth, the reason why we came here tonight and these few days before we head back Thursday night back for Shabbos is to just simply stand with you, is to give hugs to you, to give kisses, to tell you that we stand with you and we know that you stand with us and that we could not be more proud of you. Toshvei Eretz Yisrael, you're strong, you're passionate, you're powerful. Diaspora Jewry needs you to be here. We're davening for you. We hope to meet you here. We're trying to inspire our kehilos to be here together with you. You are our heroes. We know it's hard for you, for your children, for your grandchildren, friends and family. Many of you have relatives in service front lines. No, like this shul and all shuls, we daven for your family, for our family, the heroes of the Israeli Defense Forces. Around the clock, we have Tehillim chat that is literally firing in our shul. We finished over 100 times Tehillim. We finished multiple Masechtos. People taking on mitzvos. I've given out pairs and pairs of tefillin, and I'm not Chabad. Nothing wrong with Chabad. But pairs and pairs of tefillin to people who have never put on tefillin before, because the call of the time, it's resounding, and we're resilient. And the chesed and the achdus, and the togetherness and the unity that we feel and that we've come here to share and to stand with you and to stand with each other. We have your backs and you have ours. This isn't your circumstance nor your war. This is ours, and we are together and we will fight. We're called as reservists, and we can, we must, and we will. I'll just leave you with what I was left with on my way to the airport before I left early Monday morning. Our 99-year-old Buchenwald Holocaust survivor, Mayor Rappaport, should live and be well. He pulled me to the side very early, and we left very early, and I met him very, very early. He said to me, Rabbi, tell the Jews in Eretz Yisrael my number. Tell the Jews that I was in Buchenwald with Rabbi Yisrael Meir Lau. Tell the Jews in Eretz Yisrael the persecution and the Holocaust and the pogrom and the rallying in university campuses around the United States. Tell them that the media bias, tell them that Am Yisrael Chai, that the Jewish people are strong, will face and stare down the enemy as long as we are strong. Tell Toshvei Eretz Yisrael that we will persevere and we will overcome. The stories and the heroism, the acts of unity in the gathering tonight, and the gathering tomorrow night, and the gathering in shuls, and the strengthening of our conviction and our character. It's what's going to carry the day. So on behalf of Mayor Rappaport, on behalf of my community and the Boca Raton Jewish community, on behalf of Diaspora Jewry, on behalf of every single one of us in Chutz La'aretz, we say to you, stay strong, be strong, chazak v'yamatz. because Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai.
Many of us obviously have children in the tzava, but those who don't aren't always connected and don't always think about our chayalim every single day, except in times like this. Rabbi Gottlieb, besides being a Rav in Ramat Beit Shemesh, a Rav who made Aliyah, who inspires people daily with his Torah, he is also very involved in inspiring chayalim at all different times of their service, being part of the Tzalash staff, doing so much to bring ruchnius to all of our frontliners, whatever they might need. We have tremendous hakaras hatov for all the work that you do, both spiritually and physically. Hashem should give you koach to continue your avodas hakodesh, and we are very privileged to have you here tonight to share some words.
We thank Rabbi Rosner, the entire community, and this wonderful kehillah for opening up your home and opening up your hearts to the greater Beit Shemesh, Ramat Beit Shemesh community, and that we are so privileged to be joined and honored to be joined by our chaverim from the Boca Raton community, Rabbi Gibber and Rabbi Goldberg. It's really such a pleasure and honor to be here with you. Like so many of you, in a very real and personal way, my life was changed on Simchas Torah morning. Like so many of you in this room, I have multiple children who were called from Hakafos to go to their base, to the front lines. We have 2 sons in the north and a beloved son-in-law from Beit Shemesh in the south. Like so many of you, I haven't had a good night's sleep in 2.5 weeks. Like so many of you, I've lost about 9 pounds. Not all has been bad. And like so many of you, I worry constantly. I've been asked more than once, both in my community in Ramat Beit Shemesh, through my work with Tzalash that Rabbi Rosner alluded to, and in various other forums, to share my story, to give some perspective. And I always have emphasized that our story, my children's story, it's not unique and we're not special. We're one of hundreds and thousands of families in Eretz Yisrael going through the same thing. I know this evening was dubbed an evening of Chizuk. I think it's the 3rd or 4th such event that I've been privileged to be a part of. And each one of them I have felt and even to some extent articulated the same thing. I don't feel strong. How am I supposed to give you strength when I'm not strong? I'm scared. I'm not depressed, but I'm scared. And not just for my sons and my son-in-law. How many of you are like me? You look at your children at home. I look at my beautiful grandson, and I have to chase away the dark thoughts. I'm not strong. How am I supposed to give you chizuk if I can't be mechazik myself? And yet, each time I've been asked, I've done my best to say something, not because I feel like I have what to say, but if I can echo a famous comment of Rav Kook, I talk not because I need or want to talk, but because I can't be silent. We are gathering tonight in a way very different than some of the, I'm sure, like in our community and in Boca and in Beit Shemesh, I'm sure immediately after Simchas Torah, there were big Tehillim rallies and tefillah gatherings. And that was one kind of experience. We were still completely shocked by what we were reading. And I assume that all of you, like me, just presumed that probably imminently would be an invasion. And for reasons that are above anyone's pay grade, in this room I assume, we find ourselves at a period of limbo. Do you know that there are 500,000 soldiers right now around the country? 200,000 in Sadir, the standing army, and 300,000 miluimnikim that were called up within a day or two. They're just waiting, we're waiting, and we pray that our leaders have the siyata d'shmaya to make the right decisions, not only about what to do, but about when to do it. But we gather in a certain sense of limbo. And everyone, I assume not just me and my family, everyone is asking the same question. When are we going to go in? The soldiers are asking. You don't have to have inside knowledge to know that the generals are asking. Am Yisrael is on shpilkis. When are they going to go in? So I have a secret to tell you. We're already in. We're already in, because you have to understand that the battle is being fought on two levels. The short-term, immediate enemy is Hamas. The short-term, immediate war is in Gaza. Maybe it'll be in the north. We hope not. But that's the short-term, immediate war. And the short-term, immediate mission is peace. Peace from strength. Peace with security. That is true. That's the short-term, immediate war. And we're waiting to go in. But there's also a long-term war. There's a long-term enemy that isn't from without, but is from within. The long-term war has not lasted 2.5 weeks, but 2,000 years. Our enemy in the long term isn't Hamas, but Sinas Chinam. It's the oldest enemy the Jews have had. It's been our Achilles heel since the time of Beit Sheni. And the mission for the old and long war isn't defeat. It isn't vanquishing Hamas. It isn't peace. The mission of the long war is achdus, is being together. And the secret weapon that we have in the long war isn't the Iron Dome or the space lasers or who knows what tricks Tzahal have up their sleeve. The secret weapon is Avas Yisrael. And on that war, we're already in. And we've been fighting since Simchas Torah. The front is not the south. It's not even the north. The front is throughout the entire Jewish world. We're at war with what has been the longest enemy that has plagued the Jewish people. And we're winning. We are winning already. As was alluded to so eloquently by Rabbi Gibber. There is no one in this room, I say that without any shred of doubt, who has experienced even a scintilla of the level of achdus that we have seen over the last 2.5 weeks. Not long after we made Aliyah was the terrible summer of the kidnapping and the murder of the 3 boys and what came after that. And there was incredible achdus in the Jewish world then, and certainly in Israel, and it doesn't even come close to the achdus that I and we are all feeling and experiencing over these last 2.5 weeks. There aren't 500,000 soldiers, there are 16 million soldiers, because every one of us is not a reservist, but on the front line, and we are combat soldiers in the war for Avas Yisrael, for Achdus, and we're already in, and we are winning. Unprecedented Achdus. Inspiring, unforgettable Achdus. Many years ago, I read a story. I can't tell you I know all the details, but it's one of those stories that's too good to verify. And there was someone who came from a more Litvish background, was actually a brilliant young Talmid Chacham. I won't mention the name in case I have the facts wrong, but at least in the version of the story I'm familiar with, who became exposed to sometime in the immediate aftermath of the Holocaust and the transition from Europe to America with a bunch of Satmar Hasidim and others from Hungary. He, as was universally accepted in the greatest of Litvish yeshivas of the day, was clean shaven. And if he wore a hat, it was gray. Of course, the Hungarian-based Hasidim, very different outlook about many things. But as some of you may know, Satmar in particular, most Hasidim, but Satmar in particular, particularly strident approach to the need for a beard. They hold that shaving, even with an electric shaver, is an Isser D'Oraisa. And Chukas Akam, so probably two Isser D'Oraisa. And this wonderkind of a Talmid Chacham didn't have a beard, and they went to tell Rabbi Yoel, Satmar Rav, and they were complaining, they were mezalzel. And the Satmar Rav, no less, someone known for having passionate beliefs, looked at his Hasidim with love but condemnation. And he said to them, you know, you're right, Taka. One day when this Talmid Chacham gets up to Shamayim, they'll say to him, Reb Yid, where's your beard? But when you get up to Shamayim, they're going to say to you, Reb Beard, where's your Yid? Because no less than the Satmar Rebbe, who had strong views, but he understood at the end of the day, a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. And we are family. I want to share with you a beautiful and powerful insight of the Chassam Sofer. He's commenting on the pasuk in Tanakh, Hasam Gvulech Shalom. Make your border peaceful. Hasem Gvulech Shalom. He explains in his commentary to the Chumash homiletically what the Torah, what the Tanakh is telling us so powerfully is that in life, everyone has a gvul. Everyone has a border, a red line that they won't cross. No matter how passionately they believe about a particular item and they're willing to go to the mat for it and fight for it, but everyone has a gvul, a price that they're not willing to pay, a line that they're not willing to cross. And says the Chassam Sofer, for a lot of people, it's their kavod. They'll do everything until it compromises their kavod, then all of a sudden they're willing to give up. For other people, it could be money. For other people, it could be jealousy. All sorts of things that people, no matter how much they may sincerely feel about something, but they won't go over that line. Says the Chassam Sofer. The Tanakh is telling us, Hasam Gulvulech Shalom. No matter how strongly you feel about something, I'll read you his words because they're too powerful for me to paraphrase. You believe in something strongly. Chassam Sofer also had strong views. You believe in something strongly and you're pursuing it, l'shem shamayim, because you believe in it. But when you see, says the Chassam Sofer, that if you keep on pushing it, it's going to lead to machlokes, disunity, divisiveness. Azai Omer Ad Po Tehei Gvul Chachmasi. I think I'm a chacham, I think I know what's right, but if that thing that I believe with all my fiber is right, is going to take me over the line of shalom, Hasam Gvulech Shalom. That has to be our red line. For so many years, for so many generations, we couldn't get it. We couldn't. And it took the most unimaginable, horrific, unspeakable horrors from Simchas Torah, from Shmini Atzeres, to lift the veil and to remind us of these fundamental, elemental truths. Hasam Gvulech Shalom. That has to be our red line. Yes, we believe in things. We don't always agree, and that's okay. But a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. And if your beliefs, if your positions are going to lead to pirud, to machlokas, to mariva, that has to be the red line. It's something that every one of us sees so clearly today. Where were we 3 weeks ago? And I'm speaking to myself as much as anybody else. But aren't we all seeing so much more clearly now than we were? I want to conclude, if I could, with a true story that just happened the other day. Rabbi Rosner was kind enough to mention my work with Tzalash, which is an organization which didn't discover the IDF on Simchas Torah. We've been serving them for over 10 years, providing emotional and spiritual and religious support for the Chayalim. So many people in this room and in our community have benefited, and Mirz Hashem will continue for so many years to benefit from our services. And just today, as I've done so many times in the last 2.5 weeks, but just today, I spent the late morning and early afternoon with a group of Golani soldiers, all reservists, who were called up and are currently based out of the Yishuv of Eli in the Shomron. For those of you who are familiar, in the best of times, it's not the nicest neighborhood. Eli is beautiful, but the neighbors, not so much. So we all understand, if that's true in normal times, given what's going on now in the south, those areas are raging. 8 of the soldiers are guarding the Yishuv in 4-man rotations, and the rest are patrolling the area. They told us that just before we got there overnight and this morning, they arrested, in their words, 11 Hamasniks. And they made sure to tell us, don't let the world think that Hamas only exists in Gaza. While we were there, my colleague and the founder of Tzalash, Peretz Einhorn, who's called up himself as a reservist, and he's working in the Rabbanut, stationed in Se'ilim, very close to Gaza, but for this he was pulled to give Chizuk, and I joined him with the soldiers today. He mentioned something that he had just experienced not that far from his base, if I'm not mistaken. And with this I leave you, because it summarizes everything that I want to tell you, I want to share with you, and I know you're all feeling like me. Near an army base not that far from where he was, the other night, a large group of Hasidim came, and they brought sandwichim, burger ranch, schnitzels, all sorts of things to give out to the Chayalim. Chayalim, of course, were filled with gratitude. And they asked one of these Haredi people who had come to give them the sandwiches, Eich korim lecha? What is your name? To which he responded, Korim li Am Yisrael. Korim li Am Yisrael. We can't forget that truth. Next time someone asks you, I know it'll be a little awkward to say, like at the grocery store. Oh, you're a new member, I haven't seen you in shul. What's your name? Korim li Am Yisrael. If you do that and they don't invite you for Shabbos lunch, don't blame me. A little EQ I expect from a sophisticated crowd. But we need to remember this truth. Deep inside every one of us, we all share the same DNA and we share the same name. Eich korim lecha? Ani David, aval korim li Am Yisrael.
The Bali Musar point out that every single one of us was born in a specific generation for a specific purpose at a specific moment. Our birthday, literally our birthday, is the moment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided the world can no longer exist without you, because this generation needs you. There might not be another person on the planet that uses everything that this generation has to inspire, to uplift, to spread Torah, to connect throughout the globe. And from his shul in Boca, Torah goes throughout the world. So Am Yisrael really owes a debt of gratitude, and we have special schus to have Rabbi Goldberg with us. Many years ago, we spent the summer together in Camp Mesorah, a lifetime ago. But really, it's very special to have one of the great Marbitzei Torah of our generation here in our shul tonight to share some words.
I was going to begin by thanking Rabbi Rosner until he offered that introduction. Which I'm glad that my mother is here, so one person in the room believed it. But it is a great schus to be here. B'shus the Morad Aser, Rabbi Rosner, someone we all look up to as an outstanding Talmid Chacham, and how much Torah proliferates around the world from this shul and from him. My dear friend Rabbi Gottlieb, who just this summer we were communicating, we should do a program together. Salash, Israel, BRS, we've got to really do something together. And neither of us imagined ever it would be this. And I would travel anywhere in the world with Rabbi Gibber, Rabbi Brody, my dear friends, more than just colleagues, really brothers, to be on this special trip together. I want to also acknowledge and thank Eretz Chemda and Alex Katz, instrumental in putting this evening together. The bottom line, I felt long before I stood up here, but certainly after hearing the esteemed Rabbanim, is how grossly inadequate I am to even be speaking to you. A night of Chizuk, we who live in the comfort and safety, we who see our children sleeping in their bed or check in on them wherever they are, knowing they'll be able to answer our call, we have the audacity, the chutzpah, the brazenness to come here and think that we can offer you chizuk. So I'm not here to give chizuk. I'm not in a position, I'm not qualified. None of us who came from outside of Israel can offer chizuk to those who are the target, and those who are sacrificing, to those whose children are on the front lines, to those who are living and breathing and experiencing this war. So why are we here? We're simply here to deliver a message in person. Because we couldn't stay away, we couldn't stay apart. Frankly, I'm embarrassed and ashamed at how long it took to get here and to be here. Chizuk you could get from the baggage handler at Ben Gurion Airport this morning. When we thanked him for helping us with the bag, said, "You can thank me if you please, will daven for those who are sick and injured and taken captive, and those who gave their lives." Chizuk you can get from Michael. Rabbi Gibber mentioned Tel HaShomer Hospital today, who we met. He was lying in bed with multiple wounds, because literally the story of Chanukah Rabim B'Yad Ma'atim, a volunteer Shmirah of 4 in the community of Shlomit, next to Chalutza, answered the call and greeted 10 terrorists, more than double their number. 2 of them fell. Hashem Yikum Damam. He was shot in the side, the bullet came out and hit his arm. I won't have to tell you about the medical treatment and what they needed to do from his leg in order to save his arm. But he described to us that they were able to take out some of the terrorists, others ran away, but he lay there on the ground for hours, losing blood, knowing that he was the only thing blocking these terrorists from going door to door in his yeshuv, family to family, the pogroms and the atrocities that we've come to know way too well. He lay there for 2 hours, waiting and wondering If those terrorists would return, would he survive? He just said Shema for 2 hours straight, and you'd expect him to say, when this is over, I'm moving to Boca Raton with you. When I'm out of this hospital, when I'm healed, I'm going to find some more comfortable place. I'm not sure where that is right now, in the center of the country. But it's not what he said to us, together with his wife Leah. He said, the day I get out of this hospital, I'm returning to Shlomit to build the next phase of our community, to add more homes, to grow the Jewish presence, and I'm going to begin preparing for Simchas Torah, Tafshin Pei Hey, for next year's Simchas Torah, because we're going to go back to the same spot, that same place, and we're going to dance with those Torahs, and we're going to celebrate. You want to get Chizuk? Meet with the soldiers. One of the, not even a reservist in the Agos unit, who heard the news and grabbed his gun and drove down into danger without it being his responsibility. The extraordinary people that we met today. So I'm not here to give you chizuk. Your mere presence in this room, what you are living and breathing every moment of every day of these days, gives us extraordinary chizuk. I and we came simply to, in person, deliver a message, to deliver a hug, to tell you how much we love you and how much we think about you and how much we are you. We're not a third party watching from afar, feeling sympathy and empathy. We are united, we are together, we are one. Our lives have not been normal. We have not become adjusted to this reality. We've not returned to a routine, and we won't until you can. Until HaShomer, we took the name and number of these soldiers and promised their mother that this wasn't a one-time visit, it's not a photo op, it's not to boost or cheer him up, but we will continue to stay in touch. We will continue to be involved. We will continue to build a relationship. Rabbi Gibber mentioned that we traveled with 102 duffel bags. We could have had many multiples of that number. El Al told us it was the record. And you've never seen in the back of the ticket 102 little baggage claim stubs, which I have and I'm going to be framing from my office at home. We had to beg our community, stop, die. You can't bring any more. We are not allotted any more cargo. You know who gives you chizuk? El Al, Israel's airline, who's gone to extraordinary efforts and I don't think is being recognized nearly enough for their cooperation. An airline not historically known necessarily for making easy arrangements, but has gone out of its way. The person who runs the El Al in Miami told us, there's another holy Jew in Florida, Joe Zvoluni. He sends 25 bags a day. No people with it. He just puts 25 bags a day. He had to tell Joe, not today. There's a group from Boca. They're taking up all the cargo. El Al, giving an enormous discount on those bags, allowing us to take much greater than the usual weight allotment. That's who gives us chizuk. We're not here to give you chizuk, we're here to give you a hug. We're here to tell you how much we love you. We're here to tell you that our lives will not go back to normal. We were on the Lebanon border today, meeting extraordinary soldiers, sleeping in the woods, whether it's raining or cold. We were inside one of their tanks, trying to imagine what it would be like to be wearing all that gear, surrounded by 12 people in that claustrophobic hot space, charged with going to fight and defend the people, a nation. And the soldier who was talking to us inside that tank said, with such resolve and tenacity, with such confidence and clarity, he said, we're going to win because we've always won and because we have no choice but to win. And we will not leave, and will we not go home until we know our families are safe. And then he continued and he said, and if Tzahal says, we're done, it's time to go home, but we don't think our families are safe, we're not going anywhere. We'll still be here. We'll still be on the line. We'll still be on this front. So I want to tell you, your brothers and sisters in America, in Florida, in Boca Raton, but I'm pretty confident in describing around the world how we feel, how connected we feel, how much love we feel, and also how much concern and fear. Not in the same universe as you, not in the same ballpark or category beyond comparison, but we too wake up in the middle of the night to check the news, to check on our family. The Rambam, in defining the mitzvah of tefillah, writes that after reciting Shevach for Hashem, a person continues with bakasha, with the request and supplication. Shoel tzrachav shehu tzarech lahen. It's a very clumsy expression. You ask for the needs that he needs. Shoel tzrachav shehu tzarech lahen. It's repetitive, it's redundant, it's clumsy. It sounds even more awkward in the translation. He asks for the needs that he needs. Why does the Rambam describe it that way? The Chassam Sofer explains that at the root, at the core of genuine and authentic prayer is a sense of need, a personal need, something missing, being incomplete, not whole. A need that's beyond our control, a need that's beyond our capacity, a need in which we surrender and submit to the Ribono Shel Olam, to the Almighty. Hashem, I need you. I can't do this without you. Shoel tzrachav. You don't just recite a script, you don't just deliver a text, a liturgy, but shehu tzarech lahem. You have to genuinely, authentically feel desperation. You have to feel that you need Hashem. It's an indispensable element of tefillah. Turning to Hashem from a sense of vulnerability and fragility, from a sense of utter dependence, from relying on Him altogether. If a person feels self-sufficient, a person feels self-confident, a person feels kochi va'otzim yadi, I've got it. It's in my control, I can take care of it, then whatever words they might utter with their lips don't carry the meaning of tefillah, because tefillah is shoel tzrachav. You don't just say the words, but you have to feel shehu tzarech lahem, that you need, that you miss, that you're absent, something that He and only He can deliver. And the Chassam Sofer, with this understanding of the Rambam, is explaining a peculiar comment of the Maharal. The Maharal says that you're not allowed to daven on behalf of someone else. Praying for others is not an effective, it's not a legitimate form of tefillah. Tefillah, by definition, has to be something that you are offering and asking from yourself. And the Maharal, Nesif HaAvoda, is very difficult to understand because it's our entire collective experience to regularly daven for one another. Long before Simchas Torah, before October 7th, every time we heard someone is sick, every time we heard someone is in a situation of crisis, we daven. We get a name, we're on a list, we're part of a group, and we daven for others all the time. It's part of what it means to be part of the Jewish people, part of a Jewish community. So what does the Maharal mean when he says davening is inauthentic unless it's something you need, it comes from you? And the Chassam Sofer offers the most magnificent insight. He says, davening has to be something that we need. If you're davening for the other person because you feel bad for them, because you have sympathy for them, because your heart aches for them, but it's not something that's paining you, you're not incomplete, you're not screaming in pain, that's not davening. The only legitimate and accurate and authentic definition of tefillah, also and even when you daven for someone else, is because they're not someone else, they're you. If they're hurting, you're hurting. If they're scared, you're scared. If they're worried, you're worried. If they're in danger, you're in danger. If they're wounded, you're wounded. Shoel tzrachav shehu tzarech lahen, our tefillah around the world. And that's the message I came here to tell you in person. We're not davening for you. We feel bad for you. We're following the story about you. We're davening for ourselves because we are you, you are us, we are one. The left hand doesn't daven for the right hand when the right hand is injured or hurt. They're one entity, they're one organic whole. And that is Klal Yisrael, that is who we are. We are one united people. We are one whole. That is our feeling, that is our concentration, that is our focus. The commander of the unit in the north today told us that he's afraid. He's not afraid of the enemy. All we saw today from the injured soldiers and those on the front line is resolve and tenacity and fierce faith and clarity of mission and purpose. Their families are worried and afraid, and I'm sure they have their moments too. I don't think they were putting on a face for us. I think it's who they are and what they feel right now. So this commander shared, he's not afraid of the enemy, he's afraid that right now, the Jews of the diaspora, they're sending letters, they're delivering packages, they're packing supplies, and they're even coming to visit. He said, but this war is not going to be, in his estimation, a matter of days or weeks. It's going to or could last for months. And will we continue to visit? Will we continue to write? Will our lives continue to be interrupted? Will we continue to change our simchas and our daily behavior and our routine of what we post online and how we live offline, of what are our priorities? Are we sensitive? Are we caring? Are we compassionate? Are we callous? And are we cruel? He's afraid. He's afraid the world will move on and they will be left continuing to fight. And I assured him, we assured him, and we are assuring you, no one is moving on. We're not here for a 3-day mission. We're here to see how in 2 or 3 or 4 weeks we can bring back 3 buses from our community. And a month after them, another bus. And that we can continue to come and hopefully leave some who will stay and move and place their lot where we all belong. Not a question of if, but when. So we're not davening for you out of sympathy or empathy as a third party who feels bad for what you're going through. We are you, you are us, we are one, we are united, we are together. Rav Teichtal, the author of the Ema Barim Smecha, was a Hungarian Rav, staunchly anti-Zionist before the Holocaust, but as he lived through those atrocities, he had an entire about face. He radically pivoted his position, his perspective on returning and founding a state of Israel, coming to our homeland. And he authored a book that quotes an incredible range of sources, all by heart, all on the run, called Ema Barim Smecha. And in there he says an insight. We daven every day in our davening, T'kabel Shofar Gadol, we ask for Kibbutz Galios, the ingathering of the exiles. That we should all move and we should come, and a message we continue to repeat over and over, as I just said, is not if, but when, all of us. There are legitimate excuses or reasons not yet to live in Israel, but there are no legitimate reasons not to be grappling with when. We daven for that kibbutz galius, for that day when we'll all be united, not because we're running away from something, but we're running towards somewhere. But Rav Teichtal writes, even in that dark place, he says, kibbutz galios is not only geographic, it's not only physical, it's not only when we are together. Kibbutz galios is when Jews around the world, wherever they are thinking about, are focused on, are drawn to, can't concentrate on anything else. I have trouble giving shiurim in our community because the disconnect from the news for a whole hour, to not know what will be when the shiur is over, to find out what was going on, that's a form of kibbutz galios. When Jews around the world are united, as Rabbi Gottlieb described, winning the war of unity and togetherness, of coming together. But I want to deliver another message of unity, not only with your Jewish brothers and sisters around the world. There's a lot to be worried about, and frankly, being here for 12 hours has made me confident, while certainly there's a lot to fear, that Israel's going to be okay. Israel's going to be just fine. With the IDF, the Chayalim, with all of you behind them, Israel will persevere, Israel will triumph, Israel will emerge victorious, Israel will be okay, but what will be with college campuses in America? What will be with the streets of our communities? What will be with some people in Congress? What will be with a legacy media that simply abandoned all the rules of journalism to spread a blood libel? What will be? What will be with people who can pull down posters of children who are being held hostage? What will be in America, in France and England and Germany, in Australia and South Africa, Israel is going to be okay. I'm not asking you to start saying Tehillim for us, but I don't know how far off we are from that. But I want you to know that with all those challenges and all those troubling indications, there's enormous support and love. From the president demonstrating a commitment to come in the middle of a war, but much more locally. I can't tell you how many people told me that they're non-Jewish housekeepers, landscapers, and painters. Gave them some cash and said, this is for Israel. I'll read to you a letter I got just today. To the congregation of Boca Raton Synagogue. This letter was on paper, came from Pastor Stephen Goundry of a local church. Once again, I feel the need to let you all know that in your hour of trial, you have friends that care for you, who daily hold you in their hearts. At this dreadful time, please be assured you are deeply loved and that you are the chief subject of many prayers. May the words of one of your own prophets comfort you today. And then he went on, it's not Jewish because he quoted from the Navi. He went on to quote from Isaiah. Yours truly, Pastor Stephen Goundry. Would we take the time to write a letter to a local other faith going through a hard time? You don't only have brothers and sisters in the Jewish community, but decent, moral, good people, of which there are still so many. They love you, they're thinking about you. Housekeepers taking a piece of what they made that day, not much, but something that hurts them, just to help you and help us. It means something. It means something. I had a lot more to share, but the hour's already getting late. So I'll end with this. As we're all observing and noticing this horrific atrocity, one we'd never want or welcome and we'd give anything in the world to have not experienced, has not created but revealed truths all along of how we feel for one another, how we can live with one another, the selfless chesed we can do for one another. Our enemies thought they were going to crush us and destroy us, exterminate us and eliminate us from the river to the sea. And Hamas's charter, Jews around the world, which makes this war ours as much as yours. And there aren't words to capture our debt of gratitude for your being on the front line to fight the war that targets us as well. We know it, we live it, we believe it, we feel it, and we're grateful for it. They thought they could terrorize and fear. They drive you and us from this land. They would splinter our people, that we would simply melt and dissolve away, but little did they know the heart of the Jewish people. Little could they know what this would reveal and bring out, how fierce and strong, not only physically and mighty we are, but spiritually and interpersonally and in Avas Yisrael. In our parsha, Hashem promises Avram ve'escha l'goy gadol v'avarechecha v'agad l'shemecha ve'yi bracha. I'll make you a great nation, I'll bless you, I'll make you great and you'll be a blessing. Va'avarecha mivarechecha, and those who bless you will be blessed. U'mikalelcha aor, and those who curse you will be cursed. I wish some of our fellow Jews believed in that pasuk as much as some of the evangelicals in America. Those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed. But the pasuk is not consistent, it's not congruous, it's not parallel. Avarcha mivarechecha, the root of both, va'avarechecha, those who bless you will be blessed, is be'ezer eshchaf, is barech. U'mikalelcha, and those who curse you, aor. Why didn't it say those who curse you, akalel, I will curse? Why do we switch the word, u'mikalelcha aor? I saw from Rav Moshe Sher, the great leader of Aguda, he said the word aor comes from the word or, light. And the way this pasuk should be read is as follows. Avarechecha, avarcha, avarcha mivarechecha. Those who bless you will be blessed. The housekeepers and the painters and the landscapers, the overwhelming majority of the members of Congress, the journalists who have some ethics left to them, those celebrities and athletes who've used their status to stand for truth, those who are blessing us, they will be blessed. Umikalelcha, and those who curse you, aor, they will be enlightened to who we are. Or light, they will be enlightened. They will see the tenacity, the ferociousness, the fierceness. They will see the resolve and the resilience. They will see the unity. They will see the clarity of mission and of purpose. Hashem is saying, bless the Jewish people, you will be blessed, but curse them, come at them, attack them, or I will enlighten you, and I will enlighten them to what they are capable of, to who they are, to what they are about. That's who we are, that's what we're about. And that is why we are here. We're humbled by this opportunity. And really, come simply to give you this hug, literally, figuratively, to give a big collective hug and to not let go. Even when we get on that plane, we'll walk away backwards, still hugging. And even when we return where right now we feel we need to be, we'll still be hugging and davening and interrupting. We'll still be intertwined and one, not feeling sympathy and empathy for another, but asking for all the tzarachim she'utzarach behen, because this is our need. It's not a favor we're doing for anyone else. This is who we are. You are doing the favor for us in this front line. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you so much for having us.
Some of the ideas will be repetitive, but that's what happens when you're the fourth speaker. Baruch Hashem, I've had the zchus of being involved in and shaped by major Torah centers for the past 40 years. I was on the YU campus for 20 years, imbibing and growing from all my amazing Rebbeim, and for the past 15 years I've been teaching in yeshivas here in Israel. Torah, avoda, giving shiurim. That's what my life has been about, Baruch Hashem. And then came that awful day, Simchas Torah, Tafshin Pei Daled, the day that seared into our memories forever. Without even knowing what exactly was happening, putting my son Avraham into a car and watching him drive off to gather his soldiers, putting my son Yoshua into another car, watching him drive off to join his pluga, hearing that my son Amitai was driving up from the north to the south, all of my rabbinic training, my smicha, my misavek ba'afa ragleihem, and tiba chaverim did not and could not prepare me for those moments. But I saw it in my boys that they were prepared. They knew what this meant. They recognized the Tzav Hashah, and they jumped at the opportunity. What was it that they knew, that they felt, that they believed that I was missing, that I was lacking? And I realized that I was nurtured, trained, and shaped in the world of Rav Soloveitchik, and that is amazing and wonderful, and still guides my every moment of learning and shiurim. It was that Torah of religious Zionism, after all, that motivated my wife and me to bring our family here 15 years ago. But here now, in this era, in this country, I needed to tap into Torah's Eretz Yisrael, an additional worldview that could help us cope and deal with the present situation. That, of course, is the outlook of Rav Kook and how he teaches me to see the cataclysmic events surrounding me. Though I am not a trained or a seasoned Talmud of Rav Kook, I will share one crucial message that he gives us for our times. In Orot HaMilchama, Rav Kook writes, Kisheyesh milchama gdola ba'olam mitorer koach Mashiach. Wars of Am Yisrael represent very powerful, even uplifting moments, and they are part of the divine hand bringing the world to its ultimate state of redemption. Kitom HaMilchama mitchadesh ha'olam beruach chadash. V'raglei Mashiach mitgalim yoter. These major national events, as difficult and as painful as they are ultimately the harbinger of a brighter and stronger future, paving the way for the footsteps of Mashiach. We say every morning, Baal Milchamos. Hashem is the Baal Milchamos, and that leads into Zorea Tzedakos, Matzmiach Yeshuos, Borei Refuos, and we end up Or Chadash Al Tzion Toir, V'nizke Chulanu Meher Lioro. The Baal Milchamos leads to a new light. It's all paving the way. But how do we tap into this process, this outlook, this vision? Rav Kook explains that our outlook has to change. My outlook has to change from one of the prat to one of the klal. Yes, of course, to focus on the prat in terms of our chesed, our tefillah, our hishtadlus, our making sandwiches, our tying tzitzis, we focus on the prat. But in our overall hashkafat hachayim, zooming out from every news story and each detail of what's going on, and recognizing that Am Yisrael right now is on the move forward towards our ultimate destiny, and we must view ourselves as part of that awesome and eternal Am. This is not a fight against the state of Israel and its soldiers. As Rabbi Goldberg mentioned, we saw 2 weeks ago, Lahashmid, Laharog, Ula'abed, as Kol HaYehudim, Minar Vad Zakein, Tafinashim. It's a fight against the nation of Israel, wherever they are in this country or throughout the world. And now we are fighting and defending as a klal, as an am, as B'nai Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Our thoughts then must be channeled positively to that cause, focused on Am Yisrael and Elokei Yisrael. This is the message that Avigail gave to David HaMelech. Go battle, defend our people, but always, Vayta nefesh adonit tzrura b'tzor hachayim. Remember the context. Remember the higher purpose. Remember who to connect yourself to. And it's even an explicit Rambam. I always understood this Rambam as only for active soldiers, which it definitely does relate to. But Rav Kook teaches us that it's also for each and every Jew, b'shas milchama, whether they are at the chazit, on the forefront, or chayalim, or the oref, the support behind those front lines. The Rambam writes in Ilchos Malachim, once the battle starts, Yishan al mikveh Yisrael, lean on the hope of Israel, umoshio be'es Sarah, and he will save you. V'yeda, and know, shall yichad Hashem u'osem milchama. We're acting for God. V'yasem nafsho b'chapo, lay it all out. V'lo yira, v'lo yifchad, v'lo yachshov, v'lo be'ishto, v'lo b'banav. Don't think about your family. Not only, explains Rav Kook, because it might be distracting, but no, because when you're fighting and there's a war, we're not individuals. We're not even many families. We're one family. And he ends up with the words of Avigail. The Rambam teaches us that our focus must be that we are part of Am Yisrael. We are not Yechidim. This is not the story about this chayal, this family, this act of heroism. Of course, we need to relate to the prat, and there'll be time for that, and support and visit and pray and appreciate each one. But in terms of our outlook, the greater picture, this is Am Yisrael. And our focus must be Yishan al mikveh Yisrael u'moshio be'es Sarah. This is what my boys and all our boys felt and feel at this time. It's in their blood. It's in their upbringing. I am a chayal, part of Am Yisrael, b'medinat Yisrael, be'eretz Yisrael. I'm not a yachid. I am chelek meha'am, and I'm ready and proud to serve my people. What a feeling of achrayut, of shlichut, of sense of purpose and destiny. And I must say, as has been said, never have we seen in our lifetimes the feeling of achdus, the feeling of the am as we do now. Right, left, no more labels, no more sects, only Am Yisrael. Only the Jewish people have 165,000 returned to their country in the first week of the war. How could I not come back? Thailand will wait. Only Am Yisrael has members who dance and sing Am Yisrael Chai as they get ready for their future battles. Only Am Yisrael have individuals who save whole communities, and they say, Lo asiti klum. Only Am Yisrael could have families who make weddings for their sons while another son of theirs is missing. his whereabouts unknown. Only Am Yisrael could have non-kosher restaurants and chiloni, anti-dati kibbutzim koshering their kitchens to send meals to the dati soldiers. One family, one nation, one God, one people. In this Shas Milchama, we as a nation are fulfilling Divrei Rav Kook, acting as an Am and not just Yechidim. And this is our greatest chus, as has been quoted by many. It's a Medrash, it's also the Yerushalmi at the beginning of Maseches Peah. Doro shel Dovid kulam tzadikim hayu. The days of David and Melech, they were great righteous individuals. They learned a lot of Torah. But because they were fractured, because they couldn't get along with each other, they lost in the battlefield. Achav was no great tzaddik. But because they were one, they fought and prevailed. Our greatest strength is in our unity, our oneness, our focus, not on personal pain and anxiety, as natural and as hard as it is, and we're human. But realizing that this is about Am Yisrael. This isn't about me, my family, my community. This is all about us. And Hashem has promised that He will always be with us. He will always watch over His Am. Hinei lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. If we're having sleepless nights, He's there with us. Despite the hardship, the anxiety, the sleepless nights, we feel a tremendous privilege and avakaras atov l'borei olam for allowing us to be here in Eretz Yisrael, b'medinat Yisrael, being able to take part in shaping our destiny and not just watching from the sidelines. I know there'll be people listening, watching afterwards. I say to Achenu B'nai Yisrael in Chutz La'aretz, first of all, thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love, for your tremendous hugs. But one thing that you could start thinking about and doing even more, you could seriously think about joining us here. So many people have voiced to me, they're feeling distant, lacking, missing something. Yes, it's a step removed. So I say, come. Use this moment as a Shas HaKosher. Seriously consider and plan. They took 1,400 of our brethren. Let's bring 14,000 or more to show our love not just for Am Yisrael, but for Eretz Yisrael. Join this amazing startup, this miracle that is Medinat Yisrael, to dwell in the palace. Tamid Eini Hashem Elokecha Ba, Mereishis Hashana Ad Achris Shana. So let's learn from our boys, learn from each other. From Rav Kook, we need to think of the larger picture. We are one. We are Banim Atem L'Hashem Elokeichem. Let's mentally connect to the Am, which then brings us to the Moshiach Shel Yisrael. And Be'ezus Hashem, through that schus, Bizoche, to Nisim v'Neflos, Yeshuos v'Nechamos, B'mheira v'Yamin.